an island where a natural disaster has unfolded in such a way that you may have never seen anything like it before. But satellites have recorded that scene, whether it's the site of a plane crash in the dense forests of Siberia, the mystery behind that square-shaped formation in the middle of the Sahara Desert, or the thousands of colourful wells found at a remote location on the Somalian coast. Our world is filled with such astonishing and unique places. Today, we will uncover 10 such hidden locations and, as always, try to explain these strange places. Welcome back once again. Viewers, let's start by talking about a fascinating island. About 1,200 kilometers southeast of Japan, in the Pacific Ocean, there is a small island called Iwo Jima. During World War II, a battle between Japan and the USA took place on this island, and its remnants can still be seen today. But what we want to show you is this. If you look at Google Earth's 2005 satellite image, you will see some rocks in the water about 200 meters off the west coast of this island. But if you look at the latest satellite images, the sea has retreated, and what earlier looked like rocks are actually shipwrecks. In the last 20 years, the shipwrecks that were 200 meters away from the shore are now on dry land. These were US Navy ships that were destroyed during the war in 1945. But the question here is, when global warming is causing sea levels to rise all over the world, why has the sea level decreased around Iwo Jima Island? I leave the answer to you. Tell us in the comments why this is happening on Iwo Jima. Now let's move toward the next location. In Russia's far northeast region, deep inside the deserted forests of Siberia, there flows a river called the Olenyok River. On the banks of this river, there is an oxbow lake, a lake that was once a part of the river itself. If you zoom in near this lake, you can see the wreckage of a plane in the middle of the forest. From the satellite image, it appears as if the plane tore through the trees while crash landing. It looks like a twin-engine Antonov An-30. Searching through the Bureau of Aircraft Accidents archives revealed that on June 2nd, 2022, an Antonov An-30 took off from Kudu Airport and was supposed to travel to Olenyok. It was carrying 6.5 tons of cargo and 7 crew members. But about 15 kilometers before the Olenyok airport, the plane ran out of fuel and both engines shut down. The pilot was forced to make an emergency crash landing over the forest. Fortunately, all crew members survived, but the aircraft was severely damaged, so much that repairing it was not possible. In the photos taken at the time of the accident, the tail elevators of the aircraft appear broken, which can also be seen near the point of contact in the satellite image. In the Pacific Ocean, south of New Zealand, there is an island known as Auckland Island. Next to it lies another island with quite a strange name, Disappointment Island. But why such a strange name? According to internet research, during the 18th and 19th century, this region of the sea was home to large populations of whales. Hunting was very common. People from England would travel to this part of the Pacific Ocean, especially near Antarctica. During their months-long journey, their food, supplies and firewood would all run out. When, from a distance, they spotted this beautiful island, the whalers would think, why not stop here, rest for a while and refill our supplies? But after travelling hundreds of miles to get there, the true nature of the island would finally reveal itself. There were no lakes, no freshwater springs, no trees, and nothing to eat. On top of that, the winds were so cold and strong that staying there was nearly impossible. Because of this, everyone who came here left disappointed. And ever since then, the island came to be known as Disappointment Island. Now let's move to China. In northwest China lies the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, a vast expanse of desert and barren land. During an investigation on Google Earth, a massive facility was found here. But the surprising thing is not that this facility exists in such a remote area. The real surprise is the two enormous stone-like structures beside it, each roughly the size of 2 football fields. These structures, appearing to be about 100 meters wide at first glance, seem to cast their shadows downward. But the truth becomes clear when we look at the other shadows in the facility. They are cast in the opposite direction. Eventually, it became obvious that this was actually an optical illusion. These aren't giant rocks at all, but 2 enormous joint sinkholes, each nearly the size of a football field. Looking at historical satellite images reveals that these sinkholes were created recently. But what the reason behind their creation is, that is still unknown. To witness the raw power of nature live, there is no better place than Spain's La Palma Island. A few hundred kilometres from the West African coast, in the Atlantic Ocean, there are several islands that fall under Spain's administration. About 100,000 people live on La Palma Island. If you look at the satellite image of August 17, 2021, everything appears completely normal. But just 2 days later, on August 19, 2021, a nearby volcano erupted, and the condition of the city turned into something like this. The entire city was buried under a thick layer of volcanic ash, and it remains buried to this day. In the middle of the Arabian Desert in Saudi Arabia, hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest human settlement, an unusual square-shaped mark has been spotted in the sand. From one side to the other, it measures around 400 meters. On one side, there is a small entrance-like structure, which possibly indicates that someone once lived here. Are these the remains of some ancient traveller's shelter, or something else entirely? Historical satellite imagery for this particular area is not available. But if you zoom out far enough, blurry but usable historical data can be found. In the exact same location, satellite images from 2007 show some structures or large camps inside this square. But just a year earlier, no trace of anything existed, meaning whatever this is, it was constructed in 2007. But the question is, what is this thing in such a deserted place, and who built it? Judging from the tracks of vehicles, it can be assumed that this might have been the work of an oil exploration team. When these teams set up camps in the desert to search for oil, they dig around their campsites so that poisonous animals and insects cannot get inside. A little further from this location, there is another similar square mark. And even here, satellite images show activity only during 2007. Now let's head toward Lake Oroville in the United States. In 2021, severe drought struck California, causing Lake Oroville to dry up almost completely. As a result, many objects that had sunk in the lake began to appear again. At this exact spot, the lake water used to be 65 feet deep. But after the lake dried up, the satellite image of May 30th, 2021 shows a crashed SUV. Right next to this location runs the Oroville Highway, a mountain road, and the place where the SUV lies happens to be near a sharp turn. So the chances are that this vehicle once met with an accident, and its wreckage sank deep into the lake, only to reappear in 2021 when the lake dried out. Now look at this area on the coast of Somalia, where thousands of small circular marks are visible. Each circular hole has a diameter of about 10 meters, and colourful water can be seen inside them. Internet research reveals that this is not a natural phenomenon. Instead, the locals themselves dug these wells, and for two reasons. To trap groundwater at that location so that it doesn't flow forward and get contaminated by seawater, and to extract salt from these wells, which they then sell. Because this region is extremely hot, these wells naturally work like salt evaporation ponds. This scene is from a Ukrainian airbase photographed in 2023. The aircraft you see here is the Tupolev Tu-95 strategic bomber. But on top of the aircraft, you can see black, circular marks. However, if you look at a satellite image from the previous year, these black circles are not present on the aircraft. So what exactly are they? This satellite image was captured during the early days of the Russia-Ukraine war. The black circles on the aircraft are actually old car tyres. These were placed on the plane for optical camouflage. Since tyres are made of rubber, when the automated object recognition systems on drones send out waves, those waves bounce off the tyres and distort the aircraft's digital shape. This makes it harder for drones or missiles to correctly identify the target. Talking about strange Google Earth locations without mentioning the Sahara Desert would be impossible. In this remote part of the Sahara, between sand dunes, there is a beautiful geological formation captured in 2013. At first glance, it appears to be an ancient volcano whose crater or magma chamber has now become exposed on the surface, and which hasn't shown any volcanic activity for hundreds of years. We hope you'll give this video lots of likes and shares as well. Thank you for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.